This is Module 18, Write and Graph Equations of Circles. In this, basically the formula that we're going to be using, linear equations have standard forms. Ellipses, when you get to conic sections in Algebra 2, they have standard forms of many different types of equations, one of which is the circle. So we're going to let x and y, a point, represent any point on a circle with center at the origin, and radius is going to be r. If we use the Pythagorean theorem, if we went out by a factor of x and up by a factor of y and used the radius to draw a circle, you actually can get the equation of this circle using the Pythagorean theorem. So the equation of the circle with radius r and the center of its origin would be the r squared equals x squared plus y squared, because we're using the Pythagorean theorem to find out what r is, our radius, and then we can actually continue this all the way around until it makes a circle. So this here is kind of an important concept with the next slide, because that gives us the actual equation of the standard form of a circle. So here's your standard form, standard equation of a circle with radius r and center is going to be your hk. The thing I tell people, make sure in terms of your center, it's always going to be, you read it off, it's always going to be the opposite of whatever the position of h is versus the position of k. So just like, again, in the Pythagorean theorem, this guy here, that's your radius, squared, that is. Your h is here, your k is here, and that point that you get, the xy coordinate point that you get, is your center, hk. So this is the thing you need to commit to memory, the thing you need to know for basically this part of the chapter. Okay, so I have an example. It says, give the center and the radius of the circles and graph the circle. So I have my standard form here. If we look at the standard form from the previous slide, my h in this case, again, it's the opposite. So if I have the center, my h in this case is going to be this -3, so it's opposite of what the +3 is, and the opposite of what this one is, which is +5. Okay? So you have -3 and +5. The radius in this case, we know r squared is equal to 16. So to find the radius, you have to undo the squared, which makes square root. And I tell people to put the plus or minus when you take the square root, because you're going to be graphing these and you're going to be using the radius to go up, down, left, and right to actually make the circle. So the thing you start off with on the graph is you start off with the center point, which you go to the left 3, up 5. So that's our center point right here, -3, +5. From here, you use the radius to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. To the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically with this, you draw the best you can the circle. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but again, you have to be able to realize how to actually graph the point, the center, and using the radius from the center to graph the other points of the circle. So here's another example. It says, give the center and the radius of the circles and graph the circle. So I'm going to do this one a little bit quicker. We have the center. In this case, the opposite of this guy is +2. The opposite of this guy is +5. So we have the center, 2, 5. So I'm going to go center is going to be 2, 5. That's the point. R squared is equal to 9. That means r, when you take the square root, is equal to plus or minus 3. So from here, you're going to do up 3, right 3, down 3, left 3, and draw the circle. All right, with this one, this is another way that I could ask this question. In some cases, I might give you the graph like this. In other cases, I might just actually give you the sentence, which gives a point. This is your point. This is x, y. The point -5, 6, that's xy on the circle with the center, so that means that -1 and 3 is your h and your k. What I'm asked to do is I'm asked to write the standard equation of the circle. So we know the standard equation of a circle is x minus h, quantity squared, plus y minus k, quantity squared, equals your radius squared. We don't know what our radius is in this case. Now I can actually look at the picture and actually find out what the radius is by counting, but again, I'm not going to be giving you this. This is just a visual just so you guys can see what the circle looks like. In some cases, you just have the 2 points, the point xy and the center hk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my x value, y value, h value, k value. So my x value is -5. My h value is a -1, and the quantity squared, plus my y value, which is 6, minus my k value, which is 3, quantity squared equals r squared. In order to find the standard equation, you have to find out what r squared is equal to. So simplify this, we get -5 plus 1, quantity squared gives you 16, because -4 times -4 gives you positive 16. 6 minus 3, quantity squared gives you 9. That gives you r squared. You get 25 is equal to r squared. Okay, so we have 25 is equal to r squared. We also know the center here, hk, so now we can plug it into the formula. So we have x minus h, which would be plus 1, quantity squared, because that's my h right here, plus y minus k, which is y minus 3, because that's my k right here, quantity squared, equals my radius squared, which is 25. That's my final answer. And again, if I just gave you the figure, you could say, okay, well, the radius is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so your r is 5, and then square it and you would get the 25. But again, I'm not always going to give you this picture. So you can use that as a visual aid, but I'm not always going to give it to you. Okay, other ways I could ask these questions, it says give the equation of the circle by finding the radius and the center if I give you a visual circle. So if I have a circle here, this here is my center. So you don't have to use distance formula or anything like that. I'm not going to give you anything that complicated, but you can literally just say, okay, well, I go up 2, I go to the right 2, I go down 2, I go to the left 2. So that means that my r is equal to 2. And pay attention to the scale. This is your scale. We go by 1s. In some cases, you might go by 2s, by 3s, by 5s. Pay attention to the scale. Okay? So, we know my radius is r is equal to 2. We also know the center, because the center is, if we know this is the origin, that's where the xy axis meet, this is the point here, 0, 2. So 0, 2 is your center. That means 0, your center, 0, 2. 0 is your h, k is your 2, or 2 is your k. So then I can just plug it into my formula. X minus 0, quantity squared, plus y minus 2, quantity squared, equals 2. Now, what's the mistake here? Can you find the mistake that I did? This is a common mistake that I see. People just plug in the radius. Remember, the equation of the circle is the radius squared, so it has to be radius squared. So when you do this, you could simplify it. X squared, y minus 2 squared, equals 4, and you're done. That is your equation. Okay, again, another way I can ask it, I could just give you the h and the k. So here's your hk, here's your radius, so do you just plug it in. And it's exactly like this one here, only in this one you had to find out what your radius was and what your center was. Here, I gave you the center, I gave you the radius. So all you do is you do x minus 3, quantity squared, plus y minus 3, quantity squared, gives you 4, quantity squared. So we have x minus 3, quantity squared, plus y minus 3, quantity squared, equals 16, and that's your finished standard form.